All right, welcome to our February event, our first event of 2025. We have special guest here tonight, or this morning. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm used to Friday nights. Matt Merenoff from Real Estate Recovery Group, also known as the Short Sale Savage.
Couple of fans in the audience, right?
Yeah, but before we get going, I want to give a shout out to Joe from Lamar. He provided us with all the coffee and food this morning. Joe, would you like to say a few words? You don't need the mic?
You don't need a mic.
You're Italian and you're from this area, you come loud.
There you go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Scarice. I'm with Landmark Capital. You're going to do it from the chest up, right? You make it look thin? That's good. Thank you. You can kind of manipulate it in some way. Okay, sure. I'm the executive director for Landmark Capital. I'm a big fan of supporting Sub 2. I probably sponsor now about a half a dozen Sub 2 events throughout the tri-state area. Why is because of the creativity and the accessibility to opportunities. Being a direct private lender, we provide DSCR, fix to rent, fix to flip, multifamily, single family through four family, new construction, construction lines of credit, unsecured business lines of credit. All that ties into the end user of what you guys are trying to do, right? Whether you're going to be the investor yourself or unload that opportunity to somebody else as well. So hopefully I could be part of your expert team in the lending space. I am having a course for real estate investors March 15th. It is a Sub 2 sponsored event with Christina Mullings up in Hasbrook Heights at Court Furniture. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's going to be like a breakfast luncheon just like this. I'm going to teach you how to white label our money, how to broker our money. So you could learn how to be broker correspondent of a direct private lender. We'll get you all the sizers and Excel spreadsheets to be able to price your own loans out. And hopefully some of you could be in attendance. If you need my card, it's in the back. I'll be here throughout the rest of the event. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Nice.
Thank you, Joe. Just one more time, that's March 15th, Hasbrook Heights.
10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
The Hill-
Court Furniture in Hasbrook Heights. It's a Saturday, plenty of parking. It's not crazy on a Saturday, Hasbrook Heights on 17, but we're going to have breakfast, light beverage, and we're going to teach you how to underwrite, how to broker loans, or broker them for yourself.
All right, we'll learn how to use some money.
Let's go.
And the good news is it's right next to White Castle.
Yeah, Williams is closed, so yes, White Castle.
All right, and White Castle.
IHOP over
White Castle after the event,
White
though.
Castle.
Let's play it safe. All right, and we have John Dinemer, the co-host here.
Thanks, guys. Wait, my mic working?
No,
It's not working.
push the button,
One.
the one that's buried. Here, take my mic.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming out. I'm a wholesaler and investor around here. So if there's any opportunities that we could work on together, I'm not a part of Sub 2, but I've kind of been extended to that through Jason, and he's kind of taken me under his wing when it comes to that. So if there's anything that
You're welcome.
we can go, we could work on together on that end. I'm always here and available to help out.
John's selling himself short. He is an expert at structuring, getting stuff done with agents, with tough deals. He's very efficient. 2 deals in January?
2 deals in January
2
and
deals
a
in
couple
January.
lined up in February.
There you
So
go.
if there's anything I can help out to with anybody else, I've had a couple wholesalers bring me deals so far this month, and one's worked out, one hasn't. So let's I'd love to help out if anybody's got any agent deals.
There you go. And for those who don't know me, my name is Jason Stain. I'm from North Jersey. I'm a fix and flipper primarily, and I help people coordinate, collaborate their deals, put stuff together. Like John, I bring a lot of stuff to Matt. There's a whole bunch of people in the room here that I've helped along the way, try to get their first deal, first contracts, and yeah, bring it my way. I love headaches. I love figuring it out. And then I give the headaches to Matt, and I give the headaches to my wife, who's over there with my little helper, Isabella. So love to help you out. Let's do some deals. So without further ado, I want to introduce Matt Merenoff. So for those who don't know Matt, I used to call Matt about 6 years ago before I knew anything about short sales with problems and issues that people call me with now. And Matt would take the time out to talk to me and walk me through different steps. I didn't understand how to do short sales. I really didn't understand the pre-foreclosure process at all. Many conversations later, we're sitting on stage together. But it's not every day I get to introduce someone who has a book, right? Is it a bestseller yet? It's on its way.
Not yet.
It's
Almost
on its
there.
way. So Matt published a book last year, right? Last year?
Almost there.
2 years ago. So definitely pick up his book. We have copies of it back here. Matt has done 2,500 short sales to date, approximately, right? Over 20 years.
With working with individuals, trying to like collaborating, stuff like that. Just probably about 1,900.
1,900. There you go. So by a show of hands in the room, just to kind of get an idea of who's done short sales, who has worked on a short sale or done a short sale in the room. So we got a few. Has anyone ever got on the phone and called the bank and tried to stop a foreclosure before in the room by a show of hands? And we got a few. So Matt is an expert at that. So I'm going to kick it over to Matt. Do your thing.
I appreciate that, John and Jason. Thanks so much for having me today. So my name is Matt Merenoff. I run a company called Real Estate Recovery Group. I'm not a traditional person. I don't claim to be. John was laughing over here on the side. I do things a little bit differently. I joke around with people. I say, one of my things is spank the bank. It's not until you get a restraining order. Solutions over excuses. My new one is referrals turn me on.
I still like that it's not a no.
It's not until you get a
That's my
restraining
favorite.
order. It's on the back of your shirt. So I started my journey in, believe it or not, early 2000s. And when I started the journey, I was a train operator. And I worked for New Jersey Transit. I ended up getting sick, couldn't do it anymore. Ended up working for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law at their mortgage company. And we ran a for sale by owner program inside the mortgage company. We were generating hundreds of leads every single month for people that wanted to purchase properties. But towards the end of like 2004, we're getting a lot of, hey, can you come over and have a conversation with me before my husband gets home? And I'm like, I get that my voice is kind of sexy, but it's a little strange. And then I get from the guys, they're like, hey, can you get here before my wife gets home? And I'm like, it's kind of weird. But hey, yeah, all right, cool. And they were nervous to tell their spouses that they were cashing out money on their credit cards to pay the difference of their mortgages because they were going to go delinquent on their properties. They were in these tickler loans, 1%. Probably shouldn't have been in these loans in the first place, but they were. People were purchasing properties at like $600,000, but the reality is they only really qualified for like $350,000, $400,000. It was a massive stretch. But then you had these loan officers, and the loan officers were saying, hey, you can buy this property or I get you into this house. So they were jacking everything up. And
just like the big movie, The Big Short, if anyone's ever seen
The
that.
Big Short. Actually, there's a scene in that movie that cracks me up. And guy knocks on the front door and he's looking for Rufus. And the tenant's like, hey, you looking for Rufus? And he goes, yeah, is he here? He goes, that's my landlord's dog. They actually wrote a mortgage in a dog's name. That's crazy. I mean, that's how, you know, Wild Wild West. That was some crazy
That's
shit.
one of my favorite movies.
Absolutely. I watched it a couple of times. But the reality is, over the course of time in doing this, I was fortunate enough to meet an individual, took one of their classes, learned how to basically purchase a property for the rights of the house, not the mortgage. And then my career took off. I ended up becoming, bless you, I ended up becoming a partner in that business. Really didn't like it. Didn't like the way the matrix of it was working. Changed gears, went in a different direction. And I've done it a couple of times. You got to be a chameleon in this industry. Not everything stays the same. So, you got to make changes when you got to do it. So, here we are in 2025. And yet again, I'm changing again. I'm changing my business model. But it all comes down to people that are in distress with their properties. And I'm really afraid for individuals over COVID that purchased their properties. They purchased these properties in the height of the market. Sound familiar? 2008. Now they're purchasing the properties, and a lot of them were put into ARM programs. Guess what's happening? Coming into the third year of some of these homeowners being these mortgages, guess what? Can't afford their houses anymore. So there's a lot of people, backlash from 2021, 2022, that are actually in foreclosure with their property. Guess what? And they have no equity in their house. when you have no equity in your house, you're either going to bring the money to the closing table or you're going to go short on the mortgage. Make sense? Scary. But
Now-
these are, go ahead.
Real quick, is that in New Jersey? Because I know you do stuff nationwide. So what are you seeing across the broader scale?
Okay, so I've been doing short sales since 2005. 2015, I actually had a crisis in my life. My father and my father-in-law died same day. Totally different, like, circumstances, different locations. I went to my wife and I said, you know what? I can't do what I'm doing anymore. I just can't do it. She thought I was having a breakdown. And I said, I haven't been more clear, I haven't had this much clarity in my life ever. 2015, I was getting, people were reaching out to me and saying, hey, I need help. I'm in Texas. Hey, I need help. I'm in Arizona. Hey, I need help. I'm in Vegas. And I just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to like dissolve the relationships that I have with individuals, give those files back, and start from scratch. And that's exactly what I did. And now I've built an empire across the United States working with individuals, whether it's an attorney, title company, real estate agent, sub 2 person, hard money lender, hard money lender, wholesaler, mortgage people. I work with 3 wholesale companies right now that have leads. They have nothing. They don't know what to do with it. Now they're like, I don't have to wholesale it. I'm just going to buy it as a short sale. So there's a lot of additional avenues that are out there for people that can actually purchase properties. My problem is that the people that purchase these properties right now in like 21, 22, 23, they're in complete denial. They're in la la land, just like 2008, where people were in denial and they purchased these properties. Like, how could this have happened to me? I don't understand. This is a tragedy. I just want to say one thing. Recently, somebody got nailed in this industry. They were going under the name of the short sale queen.
Yes.
And I know it made public news nationwide, whatever. I was getting calls before things really went crazy. I looked at the indictment, and it's amazing how individuals that people look up to other individuals, take advantage of people and put people into bad situations. I don't want to really talk about that today, but I just want to touch on it. You can make a lot of money in this industry, and you don't have to be crooked. You don't have to be shady. You don't have to cut and paste people's names, their signatures, try to make duplicate bank statements, contracts, addendums, call into the lenders, say you're somebody and you're not. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, when you do a short sale, there's a letter and it's a short sale approval, right? So first you get a conditional approval so you can move forward. And then you get the short sale approval letter. Once you get the short sale approval letter, it puts the terms on it. This individual, from what I understand, was taking a letter, allegedly, and changing the terms of the approval letter and actually selling the property when there was no right to sell the property. So there was a lot of crazy stuff that was going on. And there's a lot of people that are being, brought into what's going on.
And to add to that, I think there's a lot of people that aren't being shown the right way on how to do things, and they're making mistakes without even knowing they're making mistakes, which is even scarier.
Right. So like there's cards over here, and then I actually have my books back here if anybody wants to purchase it at the end. But on the cards that everybody has on their chairs, I'm offering a free short sale class. Why am I doing it? Because, there are individuals out there that are paying a lot of money to understand what I do, and they're not doing anything with it. So my thing is, hey, if I can give you guys a little taste, wet your beak a little bit, and kind of give you an understanding or an idea of how the process works, then you can make a decision of whether you want to move forward or not. Do you want additional training? Do you want to train with a buddy? Do you have a real estate group, team, whatever? I'm making it possible so people can effectively understand the process and move forward in a direction that's not illegal.
So let's open it up with wholesalers. If a wholesaler came up to you with a pre-foreclosure and they said they were going to assign what looks like a short sale, what would be the avenue for someone to go out and monetize that?
So, believe it or not, I have a lot of issues with wholesalers they'll bring me a lead. They'll tell me they want $50,000, and then they're like, "Hey, can you draw the contract for me?" I don't need you for that. I get my own leads. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. Do I think wholesalers have the right to do a short sale and then sell the property for profit in a contract? No, I think you should have some skin in the game. If you're going to buy the property, close on the property, and then you want to sell the property, unfortunately, I know people in the room don't want to hear it. That's the right way to do these types of transactions. Now, in certain areas, you don't have waiting periods as far as selling the property. Sometimes you do, but really the max is 120 days. You might have to hold that property and sell it to someone else. I'm dealing with people now that are like, well, shoot, I mean, I could just clean the house out, paint it, redo the floors in that time frame, make a pretty good profit, and sell the property. Then do it, right? So that's how I work with wholesalers. If a wholesaler brings a transaction and they can't do anything with it, you have to make a decision. Like if you can't make any money on that transaction, wouldn't it make sense to hand it off to someone or a community or a company that can actually help the person avoid foreclosure versus the property going to foreclosure? If you're a real estate agent, obviously you can get a referral fee out of it, but I say something's better than nothing. I hope everybody in the room agrees with that.
Yep.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I try to do my best to try to explain to people the right way to do these types of transactions. Unfortunately, people get upset. They're like, oh, well, I learned under so-and-so, or I was taught this way to do a transaction. Just because somebody's on social media doesn't mean that they're actually doing transactions, right? They've got fancy cars. Okay, well, maybe they rented it for the day for enterprise. Maybe they know somebody who has. I love these people. They post pictures and they're laying on the front of like a Lamborghini or McLaren, and then I know the type of car that they drive. I'm not ashamed to tell you guys. I drive a 2011 Escape. Why? Because I don't want a car payment, and the car works exactly the way I want. My wife has a nice car. That's fine. You got to pick your priorities. You got to figure out what it is you want to do in this industry. Yeah, but your truck's nice. So I think I covered wholesale. You got a question?
Yeah, let me like from the wholesaler perspective.
Yeah.
And I know when Jason first introduced me to you, right on that first phone call, I knew to shut up and listen. Especially getting you involved as a wholesaler. I just knew. I don't know who there's other people you're dealing with, but for me, like I said, I knew. Let me like get some experience from this guy, and we'll go from there. You alluded to it a little bit. What are some of the deed restrictions involved as a wholesaler when it comes to these properties? And are there any time frames, or I've even heard a little bit about profit percentage that the property can't be resold at a certain percentage. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so primarily when you get a short sale approval letter, and by the way, this isn't in every state. It's primarily in the Trice area where they have the clause in it that the property can't be resold for 120 days and you can't make a profit of, I think, more than 20% or whatever it is. Now, if you could show you've actually physically done work to the property, that's a different story. But if you're trying to flip a contract and make $100,000, that could potentially be a problem. I've actually had people send me, oh, I got this short sale approval letter. Can you take a look at it? And they literally took a PDF and changed it from a PDF to a Word doc and sent it to me by accident. And I'm like, yeah, I think we're good here. Oh no, that's how the lender sent it to me. I'm like, no, that is not how the lender sent it to you, because they have to go through a full process before that approval letter goes out. There is a process when those letters go out. So there's a lot of people that obviously try to commit fraud.
So to add to that, as a wholesaler, as John alluded to make money on a short sale, you can refer it to an agent. Like, for example, my wife and I will pay for the lead, no different than paying Zillow for a lead. So you can get paid off market, on market, whether you're licensed, not licensed. And then also referrals to an end buyer. If you have a good relationship with an end buyer, like John has a couple good relationships with end buyers, that they'll just go under contract on a short sale, and then that end buyer just agrees to pay like a marketing fee or the finder's fee or so, something to that effect outside the transaction. So it doesn't affect the short sale. So this business, like anything else, is relationship driven. So know who you're working with. And again, with pre-foreclosures, very, very much so. I'm more in tune with how do we stop the foreclosure, and then let's figure out how to make money. Because I think that's what's really important. And I want to add to that, John, our videographer here, is someone we helped out of a situation. Got to stay in his house, and now he's our camera guy. He comes to our events and takes wonderful videos for us. So it's really important.
There you go. That's a success story right there. I'm going to carry on.
Carry on.
Carry on.
Does anybody have any questions so far?
So I do a lot of pre-foreclosures, and my goal is to wholesale them. But a lot of times I do get on the phone and I realize, wow, I cannot wholesale this, nor can I buy it, and it's just going to be, the best option would be a short sale. So with that, I bring the lead to you. What would that look like? Like, what's the response rates? Like, say they're auction. Like, when do I need to get them in a short sale paperwork before the auction date? Like for a loan mod, it's 37 days prior to the auction date, which is the number, right?
Always not. That's not necessarily true with all lenders, but go ahead.
Sounds really good though.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Loan mods within that window, but that's like whatever. But what's the short sale time frame?
They normally want 37 days,
For short sale, same thing.
full packet, properly market on the MLS. Depending on the lender, it could be 0 days on the market. It could be 15 days on the market. But it's typically 37 days. Now, have we pushed it and jammed it down their throat where it was less time? We have a situation right now, tried to do a modification, didn't work. 2-family, Irvington. We have to get everything in by February 5th. This was on a recorded line from the lender, from the servicer. Servicer specifically said, market the property, no days on the market, get a buyer, get a contract, submit it, and then they want, specific documents along with that. And as long as it's in by the cutoff date, February 5th, they will stop the auction date. That's February 17th.
And literally that homeowner just called Matt like right before we started.
So I get I get a property and I'm going to relate to Chester County, Severo. He buys properties in Chester County. I realize that it needs to be a short sale. So I call you and I say, hey, can you do a short sale on this? And it is 37 days prior. And I'm asking this question just for the process. So then I call Severo and I say, hey, Severo, there's a property here. It's going to go under short sale. You're interested? Yeah. And he says, yeah, I'm interested. Then I reach out to you. You sign the paperwork. Do you take it over from there and you represent that client?
That's a really great question, John. And there's a 2-part answer. Should I give it to you?
Yeah.
So
Like John said, I'm listening, man. I'm just listening.
I'm listening, soaking it up like a sponge. Scrub daddy sponge. So we become the point person on the transaction, right? We particularly like to work with real estate agents that understand or are willing to basically be like Plato and soak up what needs to be done to list the property. So the property needs to be listed on a local MLS. There's no way around it. That's an investor guideline. Whether it's listed for 1 day or 0 days, but it has to be listed, can't get around that unless it's a private investor. Yeah.
Let everyone know what you mean by investor.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not everyone.
Does everybody understand what a short sale is or no? Raise your hand if you don't.
Not fully.
Got you. Does everybody understand what a short sale is? What about the people who aren't raising their hands? Can you guys hear me? Raise your hand if you can hear me.
I don't know. Did it have any arms?
They go to non-raising hand church.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So,
I didn't know. Real quick, I didn't know what an investor meant until I spent a lot of time with Matt.
It's a collateral paperwork, right? So the investor of the loan has the collateral paperwork. Then there's a servicer, right? It could be a bank or whatever that's servicing the loan for the person who's holding the collateral paperwork. This is the fun part. Sometimes you'll deal with a servicer and the servicer says no. They say no. I've gone around servicers and gone to the person who's holding the collateral paperwork, and they've said to me, well, I don't understand. Why didn't the servicer provide the information? We'd be more than willing to take that offer. I'm like, I don't.
That was what, 14 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like I I look at things differently than most people. So I look at it as it's not a no until you get a restraining order, like it's on the back of his shirt, or solutions over excuses. But to get back to your question, hand it over to me. If there's no real estate agent involved, or if I talk to a real estate agent and they're not doing the job right, I kind of say, look, maybe it would make sense to take a referral fee and throw this over to another agent who actually knows what they're doing. Or if it comes from a wholesaler or an investor or whatever it is, typically what happens in those scenarios is maybe you can work something out with the agent. I don't really want to be a part of that because I know there's laws and stuff like that with real estate agents. But we will speak with the homeowner of the property or whoever's in trouble, explain how the process works, let them know it costs the homeowner no money to do the short sale typically. And then whoever buys the property, they actually pay my company a fee for services. They pay the real estate agent a fee for services. And let's just say, you want to buy the property. There's nothing wrong with you putting in an offer on the property. If the bank accepts it, that's okay. But there is a protocol, and that protocol has to be matched. Now, let me go a little bit further with that. If the person has a property and they owe $600,000, but the house is only worth $400,000, and if you got somebody who wants to buy it at 400, but then you got somebody who wants to buy it at 470, my concern is, okay, well, the guy who wants to buy it at 400, are you willing to come up? Yeah. The person at 470, are you willing to come up? No. Why do I want to be trapped with that person for 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, if I know that person's not going to come up from that dollar amount, where somebody that's at 400 is willing to come up? So the highest price isn't necessarily always the best price because at that point they're maxed out.
Can you explain or maybe elaborate more on the protocols for the short sale when there's already an agent involved and it's already listed on market? Because when I first met you, I don't know if you remember months ago, there was an agent who was involved with the short sale and she had no idea what she was doing.
Right.
And Jason, Jason and her got in kind of a heated battle because he peppered her a little bit and she pushed back and eventually she just hopped off the phone with us. But what's the difference between that or a scenario where you might be generating your own off-market leads for like a pre-foreclosure?
So it's funny you say that because I know exactly who you're talking about. And the transaction actually went through. She has no ill will towards either one of you guys. It's just a situation where she has to follow her protocol as a real estate agent, right? I have to follow my protocol as a loss mitigation company. Because you're going to hear people out there, oh, I'm a short sale guy, or I'm a processor for short sales. But we're not just processing it. We're doing the loss mitigation part of it. And that's a big difference, clearing title. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff on title that needs to be cleared. But your question was, if the property is already listed, right, how do I get involved? Well, typically what happens is I tell the real estate agent, look, I understand the property is listed, but there's a protocol that we have to follow. And the reason why we follow that protocol is because we don't want anybody to come back and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Listing Agent, what you're trying to do is illegal. We didn't know we had to pay an additional fee. Now, if everybody understands or doesn't understand, I'm not going to go into it. But everything that happened with NAR, with the real estate agents, you can't disclose certain things. You can disclose it on your own website, but you can't disclose it on the local MLS, which makes no sense. But anyway, we had to take our verbiage down. It used to be on the MLS. Did anybody ever see on the MLS where it would say $10,000 or 3% on a listing? Did anybody ever see that? Okay. That verbiage was for my company. But because of the new laws, now it says with like asterisk, whatever, please note, buyer is responsible for reviewing documentation from short sale company, and it's in the disclosure section. And in there, we disclose it. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get agents that are going to get upset and go, I don't understand. Why can't you do the short sale? To the listing agent. The listing agent's like, that's not what I do. Well, I have an attorney that does short sales. Okay, well, that's great. But are they a loss mitigation company? I don't even know what the hell that means. So there's certain things. So what I tell the agents are, don't get involved in that. Don't worry about getting pigeonholed or getting trapped into a situation where typically you might not know how to answer it. Just refer them over to me and I'll talk to them. And I'll say, well, we could go the other route. It's a short sale. Bank will allow up to 6%. What if the listing agent took 6% and your buyer has to pay you the commission? Well, that's ridiculous. But it's not. But you're saying it's ridiculous that they have to pay me for services to get them the price that they want. The typical homeowner is buying these properties. I'm not talking about an investor. I'm talking about an end user. They're saving $25,000-$30,000, including with my fee to purchase a property. You don't think somebody's going to want to save $25,000-$30,000 as a home buyer who's going to live in a property, who may or may not fix that property, and guess what? Inject more equity into that property? The answer is yes, but it has to be explained to them. Nobody learns how to ride a bicycle, right? Yeah. Somebody taught you, unless my 16-year-old, he just took his training wheels off and took off. But the average person, right? You learn how to ride a bicycle, right? Right? Yes. Okay. So, but what if you don't know how to understand how to ride a bike, and you fall and hurt yourself, and God forbid you crash into somebody, and now you're getting sued, right? You don't want to go through that. What you want to do is you want to try to have a smooth transaction when you're trying to purchase a property, whether you're an end user or whether you're an investor of the property. So, listing agents, if you are an agent, is anybody a real estate agent? Okay. So as a real estate agent, if you're dealing with somebody who's in trouble with their property, I don't expect you guys to understand and learn what I do. Most people don't want to do that, right? You do your part, I do my part. I explain to the buyer's agents that are going to call you and go, I don't understand. He has to pay my fee now. Now he's got to pay an additional $3. No. When it's a short sale, the bank is paying the commission. The bank pays the real estate commission, which is up to 6%, right? So you don't have to worry about these additional properties that are out there that everybody's freaking out about. Is my buyer going to pay me? So it kind of makes sense to go after short sales. Yeah, Jay.
And to tie this in also, because there's a lot of sub two in here. Yeah. You helped me out majorly with a sub two transaction. So we had a situation where the investor just wasn't responding for 14 months, legitimately 14 months. We tried to short it first. The investor said, I won't take a penny less than what's owed on this property. I think that was his words verbatim. And then he wouldn't even give us payoffs. And then 14 months, I think the vice president called your company up, right? And left a message and gave you the payoffs. So even for us that are taking property sub two, I've worked with Matt's team to get payoffs, and we decided not to short it. We bought it sub two.
The thing is, if you don't know, you don't know, right? So if you're trying to buy a property and you don't know what to do, it's sad to say this, but it's true. They don't teach you everything on YouTube. They don't teach you, or they don't have all the information in Google. This is what I do full time every single day. Now, the reason why I wrote my book was because people said to me, hey, can you explain what you do for a living? Can you explain what a short sale is? Can you tell me, how do I talk to a real estate agent? Can you show me, how do I talk to a buyer? Now, I'm one of those guys, I like to make money, but not at the expense of somebody that might not want to do what I do. I've seen people pay thousands of dollars to understand sub two. They don't do it. I've seen, there's one guy out there that's charging $75,000 to teach him how to do short sales. That's fucking crazy. Sorry, little guy. That's really crazy. Why would you want to do that? You don't have to do that. Find out first, do you really want to be involved in the short sale process? And if you don't want to be involved in the short sale process, but you want to figure out, hey, can I help a homeowner and can I make a profit? right? It's always people before profit. If you're profit before people, don't even call me. I don't want to do business with you.
I agree with that 100%. So I'm curious, you've been doing this a long time. What are like some of the three craziest stories that you can share? I know you got tons. And what is the longest you've ever seen someone go without making a mortgage payment and still not get kicked out of their house?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, no.
Well, I'm going to go with the top story that always pops in my head. And I talk about this on like group meetups on Zoom and podcasts. There was a homeowner who had a property. And at the time, we were in Tampa, Florida. My team and I were doing an event. And a woman was calling crying and talking to my lead negotiator and saying, I left for the weekend and I came back and my house was emptied. So what happened was the bank sent out a property preservation company to come in and find out was the property occupied or not. Well, I mean, laundry was still in the laundry machine. The toothbrush was still in the toothbrush holder. The toothpaste was still dripping on the sink. Now, this is what the lady's telling me. Her parakeet still in the cage, right? Everything was like all indications. The heat was on in the property. It wasn't like the property wasn't vacated. It's not like they abandoned their property. So obviously this lady's flipping out. The house is locked. Call the preservation company. She gives us the number, whatever it is. Oh, we need to hear from the lender. Call the lender. Say, hey, you guys are going to have a lawsuit here. You better figure this out. We're in the middle of doing a short sale on the property. She ends up getting into the house same day, took a couple hours. You want to talk about a crisis? This woman's husband's ashes were on the mantle of the fireplace. They took out everything. She literally saw, and how do we know all this? She had Ring cameras in her house. So they saw just taking stuff off the mantle and literally just sliding it into a black plastic bag, taking the parakeet, whatever it was, literally just removing stuff out of her house. And she's like, how can they do this? So she ended up settling with the bank. House was short sold or whatever it was. But that's probably one of the wildest stories that I was ever involved in. She never got her parakeet back, and she never got her husband's ashes back. So you want to talk about heart-wrenching, right? That's probably one of the be-all to end-all. I got another story for you. Vegas. You know what they say? Goes on in Vegas, stays in Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby. So I find it where it was really odd. I could only talk to the homeowner certain hours, and it was certain times of the day. So then I reached out to my lead negotiator and I said, hey, I find it really hard trying to get hold of the homeowner. I know she's a nurse or whatever it is, right? She claimed that she was in the healthcare business. And along the way, and having conversations with her, she's like, I have a Lamborghini and I deeded it out of my name and blah, 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 whatever. Fine. Turns out that she worked at a strip club called the Rhino in Vegas. And she had wild hours. And I didn't know this, but she told Leah, who's my lead negotiator in my company, what was going on. And here I am, gullible little soul. She's in the people business, the healthcare business, or whatever it is. We knew what she was doing, which is all good. She was living with her sister down the street. She had purchased a property, over leveraged, needed work in it. She needed moving expense money. And I said, well, what do you got left in the house? She was like, nothing. I go, well, you can't make it seem like you're living in a house if you don't have anything there. And she's like, well, what do you suggest? I'm like, I don't know. Your sister's house is down the street. What can you move in? She's like, well, I still have a couch, fold-out couch at the house. Perfect. What else do you got? Well, the appliances are gone. Bring a portable microwave. She literally went to like Walmart or Target, bought a $50 microwave, put it on the counter. put food in the refrigerator, put her toothbrush, whatever, put a towel where the shower rack was, whatever. We ended up getting her $10,000. But she already moved out, right? So there are ways around. These are gray areas, obviously. That was obviously, one of those other stories where, and I'm not a gullible person, but I was like, hey, she says she's in the healthcare business. I'm going to listen to her, and Leah laughed at me. She was, you're an idiot. But whatever, it is what it is.
Leah is tough.
She is tough. She's tough. She's a lot tougher than me. She's like a truck driver. But, at the end of the day, like, you come across scenarios like that. And there are a lot of scenarios. Go ahead.
Didn't you have someone that didn't pay for 17 years or something like that?
I've had a lot of people come to me over the years. I would say the average person that we deal with, they haven't paid their mortgage in probably 5 or 6 years. That's probably about the average. We actually just got a deal in Florida. He actually has 2 houses on the same block. One of them, he lives in it. It's going to short sell. The other one, he just literally played the system. He has not paid the mortgage on this property in 16 years. I'm like, that's awesome.
That might be like a new personal best, right?
How did you get away with that? He goes, dude, it's like my loan was forgotten about, And it's like waking up like a sleeping tiger, And the only reason why it came about is because something happened with the insurance and he didn't realize it. And he stopped paying the insurance. And that's the only reason why it was triggered that the loan wasn't being paid. And now they're like, what's going on here? So, and his loan was purchased in a pool of other notes, but that's a discussion for another time. So I don't think we're going to be able to do anything with that property. But the other one, we're going to be able to do something with. Another crazy story. Working on a file in New Jersey and get a phone call from a homeowner. And he's like, listen, man, I know I'm doing a short sale on my house. I'd have my buddy come over and take all the guns out of my property. My little girl found a burner phone underneath my wife's pillow. And apparently it turns out she's having an affair with my best friend. So I said, dude, take all my weapons out of my house. Because he had a really bad temper, right? That was crazy. And they seemed like they were all lovey-lovey, whatever. You just never know, You think everything is fine, and it's not. When you get people in these situations financially, their brain just starts to go in a different direction. They're panicked. They're worried about, hey, what's going to happen with the children? Are they going to have a roof over their head? Like everything. It's just bananas. The stories just go on and on.
Yeah, anyone that's ever worked with someone in a distress situation, right? It's something, right? And you see some of the craziest stuff that people do just to hang on to the house and stay in there and take care of the kids, take care of their mom, whatever it is.
I love it when homeowners hit on me. Never men. I think I'm
Never
a guy.
hit on you?
Never a guy. I'm kind of offended by that. Not really. But women, and I'm like, really?
It's that head. It's that.
I'm fat and I got a face for radio. What's going on
It's
here?
that bald head.
I guess. I don't know. It's The Rock times 80 pounds. But at the end of the day, you have to, it's almost like you're a therapist when you talk to these people. They don't know what they want to do. They're so clouded with, oh my God, what am I going to do? What do I do next? That was another reason why I wrote my book, because I wanted to put stories in the book of actual scenarios that happen. You can't fake sympathy when you're talking with somebody. You're either sympathetic or you're not. Show of hands, who's sympathetic? Raise your hand if you're sympathetic.
I'm empathetic.
What if who's not sympathetic? Yeah, you haven't paid your mortgage in, all right, Joe. What happens if you haven't paid your mortgage in 5 years? Who cares? Get out. Who's not sympathetic to people who haven't paid their mortgage, right? So you're not sympathetic?
No, I'm sympathetic. Empathetic.
Whatever.
A little empathy.
You've cried a couple times on the phone. Stop it. The reason why I say that is if you don't have a heart working with people that are in distress, I'm not saying you can't make money doing it, but don't rush over there with a dollar sign on your forehead. Hey, sign this contract. I'll give you $1,000 for your deed or whatever it is. Like sometimes you really got to find out who's motivated to actually be in a scenario that they actually want to sell their house. There are people that actually qualify for loan modifications, but it's easy to qualify. It's either yes or no. They could either do it, or sometimes it's a flyer on whether or not those people could actually qualify. A lot of it has to do with their, DTI. So there's a lot of conversations that I have with people that are on the fence that maybe they don't want to sell their house.
Matt, what's a DTI?
Debt to income.
You don't know that.
Oh, debt to income ratios.
What is the qual like for me the loan modification qualifier / disqualifier is
Yeah.
37 days prior to the
Yeah.
auction, then also twice as much as what the mortgage is. So if your mortgage is $1,000, you got to have $2,000 on the books as a W-2.
I don't know.
Is there-
I do everything in software. I'm dumb as a stump.
But there's no other qualifiers for a loan modification.
Well, the thing is that did they ever do a modification before? That's another thing. Homeowners like, I haven't paid my mortgage in 8 years. I want fucking 50 G's or I ain't leaving. I'm like, let me tell you something. You know how much money you made? How much money you saved, right? And then they've done loan modifications.
And they collected rent.
And they're collecting rent. And they're like, yeah, but I'm only getting $6,000 a month. This is ridiculous. I'm like, dude, you're not running a gambling ring here. It's like a Gestapo. People like that, I kind of tend to shy away with. And I go, listen, I'll be at the sheriff's steps with, one of my friends. They're probably going to end up buying your property because you're ridiculous. If you do modifications on your property, there's a chance you won't get moving expense money. Those questions that we have with the servicing companies ahead of time. Hey, have they done a modification? Do they qualify for moving expense money? What if they try to do a modification and they go through the modification process and they do it? Now what? Well, if they do it, we're not going to give them $5,000. So if they don't think they're going to qualify for it, tell them to take the $5,000 and get to going. You got a question?
I do have a question. So for the people in the room that are coming across people that are in pre-foreclosure, give me like 2 or 3 questions that we should ask. So before we pass it along to you, or something that, again, show the value. We know something, we want to help you. Hey, have you tried X, Y, and Z?
I mean, really what I do when I teach people is open it up with, are you looking for options? Like, even if you're a real estate agent, you're talking to a homeowner, hey, I know your property was listed. Fuck yeah, don't call me. Whoa, slow down. Calm down. I just want to know, are you looking for options? Do you want to save your home or do you want to sell your home? Well, that's different. And some of these conversations, they crack me up. And I have conversations with some agents and I listen to how they talk to the homeowner. It's funny. Who's confident in the room? Raise your hand if you're confident. You're confident? Yeah, you guys are confident? What if I'm on the other line listening to the conversation and hearing you try to talk to somebody who's in distress at their house? I hear a lot of question, or like, it's like, what's your name? John, so you got to remember, these people are getting hounded by people. Some of them are professionals. Some of them are professional bullshit artists. 24/7, baby. They don't know what they're doing. For me, this is really valuable. Has anybody ever been arrested? Raise your hand. Have you? It's fucking awesome. Joe, I believe that, Joe. The reason why I ask is I tell people all the time, hey, sounds great. Where do we start? That's what I want you to do. I want you to Google my name. I want you to Google my company. I want you to look at my Google reviews. I mean, sometimes I look at my own Google reviews that I get and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that sounds fake. But it's real, right? So you want to kind of like clarify and edify the people that you're talking with and let them know, hey, I'm not afraid of you Googling me. Like Joe and I in the back of the room, we know someone we had a discussion with before. If he was to say, Google me, I can even imagine the fear that these homeowners would have. At the end of the day, I stand out because I'm offering additional value. I'm taking the time to walk through them to let them know what the scenario is. There's a listing that Jelenia is getting, hopefully, where the homeowner tried to do a modification. Here's the downside, and I know you have a question, young lady. Here's the downside. Yeah, with the black coat, she's got a question. The homeowner's like, I'm dealing with an attorney. He's helping me with the modification on my house. Well, you got a sale date on your property. You're aware of that, right? Yes. When was the last time you talked to your attorney? 4 months ago. Did he ask you for any documentation? Documentation for what? What do you mean for what? You're gonna qualify, try to get a loan modification on your property, right? Right. Here's first red flag. When you call into a bank and there's an attorney on that property representing the homeowner, it's noted in the file. Can't deal with anybody except the attorney. Or unless you get a letter from the attorney with an exception that this individual or company can talk on their behalf. Didn't get any of that. Okay. How much did you pay the attorney? He paid thousands and thousands of dollars over the last year or two, right? Do you have an authorization from so-and-so in your file? No. Do you have an authorization from this law firm on your file? No. Okay, well, here's some of the associates. Do you have any of these people on file? No. Okay, well, does the homeowner qualify for a modification? I mean, he could try to do a modification. Otherwise, he'd have to file bankruptcy, right? So we tried to do the modification. Got him more time in the property, which was good, right? Didn't work. But now the property has to be sold. He has another sale date. Just because you go into active review doesn't mean they're going to extinguish a sale date on the property. And these are a lot of questions that people don't know how to answer when you're talking with homeowners. So things can get a little crazy. You got a question?
Yeah, about the loan modification. In most cases, doesn't the payment go up in the interest rate? Like, do you continue to follow those properties or
Do I?
you? Well, whomever. If I was like focusing on foreclosures, would you say to continue to follow it because more than likely they won't be able to afford the payment?
It's a
If it gets approved.
great question. Loaded question. You want the long version or you want the short version?
Either.
Okay. Well, I want to give you the long version kind of short. My friend Dan's like, dude, you're always like, hey, I want to make a long story short. It's always longer than a long, shorter story. Anyway, so if I have 10 individuals that try to save their property, out of 10, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 of them can actually qualify to keep their property, right? Then if you go to a short sale, it's usually 20%. 2 out of whatever I'm working on in my database usually falls off for obvious reasons. But if you're trying to do a loan modification, this is where things get crazy. Now remember, some of these homeowners got a loan during COVID. Guess what? Their interest rate, super low. Guess what? That low rate is not available anymore. So now they have to go into a different product and their loan gets adjusted. So what if their loan rate was 3.5% when they bought the property? They qualified then. But it's even worse. What if one of the spouses isn't working anymore and they don't have an income? And now their interest rate is now 7%. Now what? You're in trouble. You're not going to qualify to keep the house. I don't care what you're doing. It's not going to happen. I'm going to file bankruptcy. They're not going to take my house. What bankruptcy are you going to file? I'm going to file 7. Okay, cool. You're going to file a 7. The debt is going to get relief from you, but it's still going to be on the asset. What are you talking about? I spoke with an attorney. He told me all I have to do is pay him $4,500 and he can make my mortgage go away. Yeah, all for you, but not all off the asset. The mortgage is still attached to the property. Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's not what he said. You want to call your attorney right now? No. So wild. What about 13? Yeah, you got to cure the past due payments in a 13. So if you haven't paid a payment in, let's say, 5 years and your payment was $1,000, and now you got to cure that in 5 years, now your payment is $2,300. And you got to prove that you can make those payments. Well, I can't do that. So why are you going to spend all that money doing that? Let's talk about how we can get you relocated. Maybe your lender can get you some money. Doesn't that make sense? Why don't you think about maybe doing a financial enema versus trying to talk about how the bank screwed you over when the reality is it didn't happen. Well, I know people that had mortgages and they stayed in their houses for 8 years and they didn't get thrown out. Yeah, because they probably lost, the collateral paperwork, or maybe some of the paperwork was lost during transition. I mean, Christ, during robo signing, they had a room. of people signing people's signatures on notes, which was crazy because that paperwork was in black ink, and these idiots were drawing it in blue ink. Guess what? That's fraud. You got caught, right? Did everybody get to keep their house? No. Did they get fined? Yeah, they got fined up their ass. Here's another thing that most people don't know. When you're trying to help somebody do a modification, and let's say there's a modification approval, and you don't send that approval letter out within a certain period of time, the bank can get fined. And there's a possibility that property can go to sale. But if you know what you're looking for, you might be able to pull that property back. The bank, 100%, they're going to get fined. I've heard of banks getting fined anywhere from $10,000 to 200 grand for making a oopsie. And if you don't think the people on the other side of the line aren't making mistakes, you're sadly mistaken. They're facing walls like that in a cubicle with like dry, disgusting air. The people next to them are tooting away, and it just smells horrible. You think they give a shit whether you get to keep your house or not? That's another thing too. One of the banks, when you call them, like, helping homeowners is what we do. If you get somebody who reaches out to you and try to charge you a fee for services, that's illegal. Just call us and we'll work it out. That's bullshit. Want to know why that's bullshit? Because they're not there to help you figure out your debt to income ratio. They're there to process paperwork. So if you don't send in a document, they need the document. If you don't have that document, or if you sign a document incomplete, let's say you send in a full packet. Yeah, we got everything. It's in underwriting review right now. You don't follow up to see what's going on with that file. I've seen files fall out of review. People didn't even know, and sale dates get set. Well, the bank reached out to you, but you didn't pick up the phone. I didn't get a voice message, but yet there's a phone number from the bank when they called you. See? So when someone says to me, well, I owe the bank money, and, I was in the wrong, and I should be paying it back, but I can't do it, So it could go both ways. You guys just have to think about mentally in the back of your head what makes sense and what doesn't, right? Any questions? Good.
So I got a scenario right
You
now.
work out, bro? Go ahead.
I got a scenario right now. The homeowner has the property for like 20 years now, but he hasn't paid in like long time. What he did is he started with a loan modification years back. Then he filed 13, and then he filed 7. And now he's losing the property, but he's really confident like he can save the property by, he say he claim indigenous lien or something like that. And he can get paid if the property sells an auction.
Does he have equity in his house?
Yeah, about 100K.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so if the property sells at auction and is in New Jersey,
SBA.
Yeah, same thing. If the property gets sold and there's equity, the homeowner actually gets the overage from it. There's a catch-22 here, guys. So let's say a bank takes it back, right? So now the property is back to the bank. Does the homeowner get money? If the property sells at auction and it satisfies the mortgage and then there's overage money, are they entitled to it? Yep. Do most people know it? Nope. They don't. Guess where that money stays? In an account. There's millions and millions, probably more than millions of dollars sitting in accounts that homeowners are entitled to, right? Now, what happens if a not-for-profit organization purchases that property? Is the homeowner entitled to any of that money? Nope. So if the property sells for, let's say, $300,000 and is worth $600,000 and a non-for-profit purchases that property, does the homeowner get any of that money? No, they don't. But if the property sells for $600,000, do they have the ability, if someone else buys it and it's not a non-for-profit, to get any of that additional money? The answer is yes. So when someone says to me, I'm just going to let the property go to sale and I'm going to buy it at auction, well, that's cool. But do you have the money? Well, you got these laws, put 3.5% down and I could buy it back, whatever. Yeah, but how do you know it applies in your state? Each state is different. So I'm curious to find out, like, this guy sounds like he's got it all worked out and he's beat the system. But what happens if it goes to auction? What's he gonna do?
Well, that's what he's saying. If it goes to auction, I still get paid this on these liens that I got against the property.
Oh yeah, what kind of liens does he have?
Liens?
He's got liens against his property?
Yeah, see, he's claiming like in indigenous liens, something like that.
Okay.
Which I did some research, and
Yeah.
it says in PA it's illegal to file those kind of liens.
Right.
Like it's not. Yeah.
Right. So it's funny. Some liens actually supersede when the property goes to sale. So if like there's a mechanic's lien on a property and the house goes to auction, that lien has to be paid. So if you're buying that property, you got to satisfy that lien. But check this out. What happens if the bank takes the property back and the title's fucked? Do they have to worry about all those liens on the property? No. Why? Because the bank strips all the liens off the property. They're able to do that. But an individual, unless you know how to do it, or unless you know how to retitle correctly, you don't know if something is going to stick to the property or not stick to the property. And there's always this wild, thing where title companies like, well, if there's a tax lien on the property, from the IRS or state of income tax, whatever it is, it's going to attach, it's going to survive. Well, what if the title company can omit the title and get rid of it? What if it's on title for long enough after the sale of the property and they know the homeowner is not going to recoup it? Can it be removed? It really depends on the title company that you're working with if they could do it. Each title company is different. I don't care what they say. The underwriters are the ones that help the title companies make the decisions or whether or not they're going to get an insurance claim at a later date. We've actually had mortgages that are on properties that we've tried every way from Sunday to verify, to clarify. And we've had title companies actually omit mortgages on properties. We've even had where somebody files a bankruptcy on a property and the second lien holder was off by like 10 cents with the filing versus what was actually owed. That's basically fraud, right? That second mortgage was wiped off the house. It was over $270,000 mortgage, wiped clean. That's a bad day. Not for me. But you got to understand how to do these types of things. Your guy sounds like he's living a pipe dream.
I just stay quiet when he was talking. Like,
Yeah.
they get really creative. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Well, they have time to Google shit.
Yeah.
They don't need to have a job. They could be.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. And, they don't have a job. They're fucking like going around, driving people around, listening to audiobooks on how to beat the bank. Bank's not stupid. So, if you guys are like, oh, I'm going to Google what he said, or I'm going to look into all these different things and find out what works and what doesn't work, just think in the back of your head, the banks already know these tricks. I talk to bankruptcy foreclosure attorneys for the banks. I'm actually friends with two of them, and they laugh because the amount of shit that people try to throw at them, and they know, all right, listen, it's okay. It's going to take an extra 6 months to clear title. I was working on a deal in Waldwick, New Jersey. Now, do I have a disability? I don't know if it's a disability, but I have a learning disability, right? So I could get away with saying this. The homeowner has a disability. He can't hear. He's deaf. But you know that he used that as a reason of why he couldn't pay his mortgage? Do you know that he actually went on Zoom calls with the judge and lied under oath for the lien holder? The homeowner had 4 modifications, actually 5. It was a private lender who had the loan. He's yelling and screaming how his loan was sold. And the judge is like, well, do you have the collateral paperwork? Yeah, I do, Your Honor. Do you want me to send it to you? Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, All right, we'll extend it another 60 days so we could do research. This guy's milked the cow. The cow is dry. There's no more milk. Eat as much grass as you want. Nothing's coming out any longer. File bankruptcy. Now, this is crazy. If you're married and you file bankruptcy and you file together when you file bankruptcy and you're both on the mortgage, that's it, you're done. You can do whatever you want. You can try to flip things around, file motions, whatever. But if you're in a house together and you're both on the mortgage, one homeowner could file a bankruptcy and the bankruptcy gets wiped out or whatever it is. And then now they're going to proceed again. Now they could file another bankruptcy. right? Most people don't know that. This guy was an idiot. Ran it to the bankruptcy attorney. There's another bankruptcy attorney that said, I'm out. And he vacated the bankruptcy. So now we're in a position where, oh, I forgot. And the homeowner called me a criminal because I couldn't help him sell his property and he wanted to save his property, which makes no sense. I have all the stuff in text messages. So I'm waiting for him to try to come after me so I can hit him with a defamation character lawsuit. And if I have to get an interpreter or whatever to translate it to him so he understands his ass is going to get sued, I'll do it. But at the end of the day, when this house goes to auction and the person who owns the loan, the actual investor who has the collateral, he wants me to stand across the street. I don't want to do it. But he wants me to stand across the street with the sheriff's department there, taking a video to show him that he lost. A little spiteful, I get it. But I mean, what the guy has done to this individual that's given him more than enough opportunities to try to help himself, he just kept digging himself bigger and bigger hole. Now, you know what he wants now? Now he wants keys for cash. Oh, you want to take my house? All right, cool. Give me $25,000. He's laughing because now he knows it's up. The jig is up. He's going to lose his house. So I say to you, if you have somebody that's in trouble with their property, the reality is you can run, but you're not going to hide. Eventually, they're going to take your property. But now if you have to go rent, how credible are you? If you own properties, would you want to rent to somebody who hasn't paid their mortgage in 5 years and they file bankruptcy twice? I'm not taking that person as a tenant. Are you? Sure. It's a 1-year lease. They got to pay their lease up front. You got the money? Oh, they ain't got it? Well, they ain't getting it. I have that problem all the time.
You sweating every month.
It's crazy. Yeah, man. Any other questions? Go ahead, young lady.
Hold. Coming loose, coming.
You just mentioned keys for cash. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
I can.
Thank you.
Does anybody know what that means? Keys for cash? Okay. Smart and handsome. So you give them the keys back. Here's the thing with like if you want to do a deed in lieu on a property. And this is what they don't tell you. Let's say you do it and they promise you up to $10,000. We're going to give you up to $10,000. Up to. Nobody reads the freaking paperwork. It's up to. They can make any excuse why they don't have to pay you $10,000. You left a broom. You left a garbage can. You left a, a dust bunny from your couch. You took the windows out of the house. Like, you didn't broom sweep the property properly on the inspection day. You might get 0. So I love when people say, oh, well, I'm doing keys for cash for my property. Cool. Did you read the paperwork? Nah. You got an attorney? Nope. Just do me a favor really quick. Show me where it says you're getting $10,000. Oh, it says up to. Read a little bit further. Oh, shit. Well, you don't have the money to clean out the house? No, I don't. Oh, that's interesting. But you thought you were getting 10 grand to get out of the property. Well, that wasn't explained to me properly. Guess what? The lender doesn't explain that to you, right? You might have to hire an attorney, right? We got involved in a transaction, South Jersey. Not South Jersey. Milburn? Maybe it was Milburn? I don't know. What's that?
Right around here.
So she was in the process of doing a deed in lieu. Mind you, she wasn't in foreclosure yet. So the investor of that loan was like, Jesus, hell yeah, let's do it. And they took it. And they were signing the paperwork. And the real estate agent reached out and said, what are your thoughts on this? And I said, well, did they have their first judgment? Did they have a full judgment against them, like with the intent of foreclosure? I don't even know what that means. Can you get me on the phone with the homeowner? Sure. Got on the phone with the homeowner, like, well, the bank didn't explain that to us. What's it say in the letter? You say you're going to get $10,000? Yeah. Can you tell me where it says? It says up to $10,000. Had that same conversation. We switched to a short sale. they ended up getting an additional 3 months in the property, never actually went through the whole foreclosure process because for whatever reason they didn't start it yet, right? House got sold as a short sale. I think they ended up getting like $3,500 at closing, which they were more than ecstatic about. And the person who bought the property was excited because they got the property for a really good deal. So when someone says to me, deed in lieu, I'm like, well, how much are they giving you? They don't ever come back and go, well, I'm getting up to $10,000. They come back with, I'm getting 10 grand. Can you beat 10 grand? Can you more than 10 grand? Well, what's it saying on the letter? I don't know. Did you read it? Nope. You want to send it to me?
Can I even find it?
Yeah. Can you find it? I love those people who are like, hey, do you have a mortgage statement? A what? Can I look? I want to see what type of loan you have. I want to see if there's a partial claim against your property. I don't even know what a mortgage statement is. You remember what bank you got? No. I think it switched hands. You remember what your mortgage payment was? Nope. Do you know what your interest rate was? Nope. Do you know what the term of your loan was? Nope. I love it. I'll never retire because not for nothing. Listen, some days I'm in my office, I'm not in a good mood. But the majority of the time, I'm laughing my ass off. Go ahead, Joe.
Wait, hold on, Joe.
Post-COVID, we have deferred mortgage payment people. That took advantage of the COVID thing. Right?
Forbearance and
Yeah,
deferment.
the forbearance. And then you have people that did desktop appraisal instead of getting a regular appraisal, right? Where are you seeing those short sales as they start tumbling in? Are you seeing more of the people that never got the appraisal and did a desktop appraisal and now they're upside down suddenly?
Are you talking about the people that purchased the property and waived their right to the appraisal?
Yeah. So which one are you seeing the short sales coming from? If you're seeing, are you able to see that?
I got a better question. Why are you not asking me, is anybody getting sued from those types of transactions?
Oh, that's next. Well, that would be the follow-up question. Like, have you seen any lawsuits pending on that? Because obviously a real estate agent got their commission enrolled. So where does that all sit with you as a short sale specialist?
So 2024 short sales changed forever because people were doing the forbearances and the deferments. And I'm gonna explain. Forbearance is where you're kicking the can down the road. We're going to give you a 3-month reprieve. We're during COVID. We're 6 months in. This thing will be wrapped up in the next 30 days. Well, 2 years later, people couldn't pay their mortgage, but it gets crazy. The stories that I would hear would just blow my mind. Well, I stopped paying my mortgage because my buddy stopped paying his. Well, did you contact your bank and let them know you couldn't pay your mortgage? What's that now? Well, did your buddy have communication with the bank? Did he talk to the bank? I don't know. We were drinking a couple beers the other night. You say stop paying his mortgage. I was like, fuck it. I stopped paying my mortgage. Well, if you had a conversation, and it was funny because I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and it was one of the Como brothers, and they're talking, hey, if you can't pay your mortgage, reach out to your lender, let them know you're in financial distress, you need help. And I turn to my wife and go, that's going to be the next mortgage crisis right there. So what's happened is,
Well, they heard on the news they didn't have to make the payments, so they just didn't send
yeah,
it.
all they heard was they didn't have to make payments. So here's what happens. Now, what about the people that already had modifications on their property, right? That already ate away at some of their equity that they had. Now you got people that aren't paying their mortgages. Now these people are like, well, hey, I was able to do a forbearance for, 12 months. Cool. What's your lender say? Well, they're willing to work with me. Great. What are the options that they're offering you? We could do a repayment plan. Cool. What's it look like? Doesn't look good. What do you mean it doesn't look good? It doesn't look good. Okay. I don't work for Dionne Warwick's Psychic Network. What does that mean? Well, my payment was $2,500 a month. For me to catch up, I got to pay close to $6,000 a month to be able to get back on track. But I only have to do that for 12 months. Then my payment goes back to normal. Can you do that? Hell no, I can't do that. I don't even have the same job anymore. Oh, okay, cool. So what are you going to do? I'm going to see if I can do a modification. Did you ever do a modification before? Yeah, why? Well, what's your interest rate? It's 2%. Oh, okay. Well, the rate right now is about 5 or 6. Silence on the other side of the line. He goes, oh, I'm not going to be able to afford that.
Every time. Every time.
Right. So they
Go through the whole process back and forth.
right. So they don't know. So it's like I can almost have AI have a conversation.
I would like to hear your voice in AI.
I can almost have a conversation. And I know with some of the software, you actually do live scenarios and it automatically knows how to answer, which I'm like, I'll just go lay on the beach all day long and let out AI talk. So long story short, there's a lot of people that are out there that are trying to get over not paying their mortgages, trying to say, well, I'm going to do a deed in lieu on my property, right? Oh, I got $50,000 to turn my house over to my bank. What year was that? 2010. We're in 2025. That's not happening. Well, why did I get it then? Because they probably lost your collateral paperwork and didn't even have the right to foreclose on you. So they go, hey, if we give them $50,000, we get the house back, we're good to go.
I like the infamous give me $25,000 cash and I'll do the deal with you too.
Yeah.
How many have had that story before?
Shady.
Yeah.
And by the way, when I do these transactions, I get paid on the HUD. I get paid on the buyer side. As I said, the buyer pays me a fee for services. I don't hold anything back. I'm not like these, backstreet, guys that open up their trunk and say, hey, this is the type of deal we're going to do. I'm out there in the public eye. I'm letting the lender know I'm getting paid for my services. You guys aren't going to pay me, but I don't want to see this homeowner go to foreclosure. So as long as I'm getting paid, what does it matter to you? Lender's like, I don't give a shit. That's it. Any other questions? Go ahead, sir.
So I was wondering how do you lock?
Wait, my assistant's going to come over. Hold on one second. Want to tip her $5? She'd love it.
I guess I have two questions. First question is how do you lock in the deal when somebody wants to work with you? Not being a licensed agent. Like for me, I lock it up with a listing agreement for a year. I'm wondering how you do that.
That's a great question. So there's really no mystery to what I do. There's a consulting agreement that the homeowner signs, and there's no time frame on it. But if there is an approval letter that gets issued and then mysteriously they want to leave, or the buyer who signs my consulting agreement and says, well, geez, why do I have to pay him? I got everything. I want to cancel the deal. Sorry, pal, it doesn't work like that. Oh, and by the way, your attorney signed it. Fucked. So pay me. I've had many people try to do that. Many. I actually got involved in one transaction where today I want to kick myself. I was doing a deal in the Hamptons, and it was one of those, bro, I got you. I got you. I got you. Yeah, I'm still waiting for my $75,000. I got you. It's a massive learning experience. Everything is in writing, cover my ass. Everything is in writing for you to cover your ass. I've had multiple brokers say what you're doing is illegal. Okay, well, prove it to me. What is it that I'm doing that's illegal? I'm disclosing what I do. Okay, I'm showing and disclosing to everybody how I'm getting paid. How is it illegal? You're acting as a real estate agent. No, my company is a loss mitigation company. I'm not a real estate agent. What I do is 100% legal. Oh, and by the way, my lead negotiator has a HUD counseling license. Oh, we good? Yeah, I guess so. You can talk to my agent again. But the thing is with like brokers, who works underneath a real estate broker? Raise your hand. Go Monday morning and ask your broker, hey, I met this interesting fellow over the weekend who really didn't curse. Got a face for radio. He didn't curse this weekend, but apparently he's known for really throwing a lot of F-bombs out. So I'd like to do a Zoom call or a Google Meet, or maybe even have them come in and talk to some of the agents about distressed real estate. I'm about 50% sure the broker's going to say, no, not interested. So here's what you need to do. When your broker says that, say, I think it's time for me to move on. Why? Because I guess my question is, before you guys came here and didn't know me, who didn't know me before today? Raise your hand. That's freaking awesome. Now that you know what I do and what I can do, and I can help you get paid as either the buyer, right? Because you get the property at a decent deal, and I can also get you paid your real estate commission. How many of the people that didn't know me are happy to know me and would like to do business with me? Exactly. So I'm winning you over because real estate brokers, for whatever reason, want agents to go for the low hanging fruit. They don't want you to help people that are in trouble. Short sales never close. Somebody who's in foreclosure, that transaction's never going to go through. I'm telling you, about 96% of the time when we work on a transaction, we get an approval letter. 96%. That's massive, right? Doesn't mean they all close. Why? Buyer doesn't qualify. Seller, for whatever reason, dies during COVID. You know, the list goes on. So at the end of the day, you can only do so much. So when somebody says to me, what's your guarantee? My guarantee in life, I'm white and I'm going to die one day. And depending on how crooked you are, taxes are optional. You got to pay taxes, right? So what I say to people is, if you come across a scenario and you're not sure if it's something that might work, call me, email me, text message me, private message me on social media. Let's just take 2 or 3 minutes if we can, if anybody wants to go to the bathroom. But if you don't follow me on Instagram. Everybody have Instagram in the room? All right. Follow me on Instagram, Short Sale Savage. I do videos on there of experienced things that I go through so I could show individuals like yourselves on there. I also have another group called Short Sales 101. That's on Facebook. And that is a group where I actually do live videos in, and people can ask me questions. And even live calls. Now, why do I don't charge? I don't charge because not everybody has the money to do the training. But most importantly, not everybody believes in themselves that they can actually do it. That they can get the money from someone like Joe to leverage the transactions. Maybe you don't know how to structure the deal. You call John, you call Jason. They can help you structure the deals. Make sense? Don't walk away from an opportunity that you don't know that maybe you could help somebody and also make money. So let's just take like 5 minutes.
We could just network.
Yeah, you want to network, take 5 minutes, go to the bathroom, whatever. I'll be up here if anybody wants to purchase a book, ask me any questions. Well, let's take 5 minutes.
He's scared. He doesn't want to answer my other question.
Matt Merenoff, everybody.
He doesn't like me.